thank you for being here.
Very good to be here.
I want to talk about Hamlet, but I have other questions I want to ask as well.
Yes, indeed.
Well, you've had a long, very successful career in both comedy and drama, and I was going to ask you. I read about you that you started busking, like on the street.
Street performing, yes.
Street performing.
It was Covent Garden, and I played Washington Square Park here in New York. My first ever gig in New York was Washington Square Park, 1988.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've learned from the street upwards. And in my early days, there was a thing that the Covent Garden Piazza is a very huge square, huge piazza in London, central London. If you're starting off a show, people are not there to see you. They're just wandering around.
Of course.
So you want to put things out that will get some attention. And I was doing comedy with my partner initially, and then on my own. And we didn't have stuff like a juggling equipment and stuff like that. We didn't have anything to put out. So we bought these things called tea cozies, which are like woolly hats for teapots. So if you have teapots, if you want to keep the teapot warm,
Yes.
I don't know if you have them in America, but you just put a woolen thing over it. And so normally you'd have these kind of woolly things. They look like woolly hats. But this was actually it looked like a hippopotamus. We had different ones that were different animals. We just bought a whole load of these because they would look interesting to people. So we used to put them on the ground, and people used to think, oh, this is an interesting show is about to happen. We never really used them at all, but we'd put all these...
Just a way to get a crowd.
Exactly. People would think, wow, the animals are going to do something. No, they did nothing, except once. I worked out this thing. There was a hippopotamus one, and it basically folded up to a completely flat thing. And I would say to the audience, this is a boomerang hippo. A boomerang hippo. It's very special. Whenever I throw it away, it always comes back. Throw it away, it always comes back. And you'd have about, 20, 30 people there, and throw it away, it always comes back. And they'd look at me like, how does that work? And then I just sort of like frisbee it over the top of their head. It didn't fly very well. It was a woolly kind of thing. So I'd throw this hippo over the top of their heads, and it would just land behind them.
Yeah.
And then they'd stare at me, and I'd go, it's a boomerang hippo, it always comes back. And then I'd wait, and then I'd say, because it's a boomerang hippo, it always comes back. And then I'd wait, and they'd think something's going to happen, and I'd say, it's a boomerang hippo, it always comes back. And then eventually someone would go and get it and throw it over and back, and I'd see, and it never failed. It never failed.
It's a great joke. It's a great joke.
But it was also... It's developing the confidence, the gut confidence on the street.
Yeah.
And that's helped me. That helps me all the way up to playing Hamlet, and playing all the other characters in Hamlet, because I've developed this gut confidence from performing on the street where no one wanted to watch you, and then into stand-up comedy after that, and then into acting after that. So.
And you were telling me backstage that you're seriously considering you want to be in Parliament in the UK.
Yes. Well, I mean, you had Arnold Schwarzenegger, you had Ronald Reagan, you had a number of people who came from creative entertainment, and they went into politics. And I've won. Glenda Jackson, very famous, she was in for 23 years in the British Parliament. And so I've been pushing to get in. I've had 2 equivalents of primaries, and I haven't got in so far. But I'm a determined person. I'm relentless. I just keep
Why do you
going.
want to do that?
Well, I'm not a fan of Trump. I'm not a fan of Boris Johnson. I think if lying is a tool of politics, then we've lost it as human beings. I don't think we're going to make it. And I believe... Thank you. I think everyone in the world has the right to a fair chance in life. That's what I'm fighting for. And I'll fight for it in Britain, I'll fight for it in America, I'll fight for it all around the world. And that's the way it's got to be. Everyone having a fair chance, not a free life, a fair chance in life. And to do that, we have to be brave and curious. And that's what I think a lot of people are around the world. Brave, curious, going out and saying, who are you? What do you do? Can we learn from you? Can you learn from us? That's the way forward. Not fearful and suspicious. And I think as you get further and further right wing, you go more fearful and suspicious. And we are about being brave and curious. So just try and be brave, try and be curious, and we'll make the world work.
Yeah. I love your positivity. I think it'd be great. Good luck.
Thank you.
So I think probably only maybe an insane person would want to do Hamlet.
Well, coming from a comedy background, yes, it is an unusual thing. So I like great challenges. I've done a lot of great dramas. We did here in New York. We did Great Expectations last year, playing all the Charles Dickens characters. That was 19 characters. This is 23 characters, and so.
But how do you even know how to that you can do that or do this?
I don't know. Well, the actual technique, I basically just turn and have characters talking to each other and adopt a different physicality, different voice, and it comes out of Richard Pryor's stand-up. Because I came from sketch comedy like Monty Python, which is very much playing a character in a sketch, and then you go into stand-up and there's only one of you there, and I noticed that Richard Pryor had done this multiple characters. He occasionally had people talking to each other, so I thought I'll do that. So I've developed that from 35 years of stand-up, and I thought I could use that in drama as well. So Great Expectations happened here last year, rave reviews in New York, rave reviews in London, and so we thought, let's go for Hamlet.
So
and
already, the play hasn't opened yet, by the way. It's already sold out. I'm happy to be the first to announce that it's already been extended.
Yeah.
It's
being extended tonight.
Tonight,
right
now.
here tonight.
If you go right now online and get those tickets, because it's already sold out. Have a great run. Please come back whenever.
Thank you very much.
I love you.
It's great to see you.
Eddie Izzard, everybody. Hamlet begins January 25th at New York's Greenwich House Theater. Already extended. More Tonight Show after the break. Stick around, everybody.
Hey, hey.